There's a certain kind of pain most people never talk about, the pain of knowing you're capable of more, but your voice isn't showing it. You felt it. You've been in conversations where you had the right idea, the right perspective, the right solution, but the moment you opened your mouth, your words didn't hit the way you wanted them to. And somehow someone else, someone less experienced, less prepared, said almost the same thing, and they got the respect, the attention, the credit. You've had moments where you walked away thinking, why didn't I say it better? Why did I sound unsure? Why do people talk over me? Why do I feel invisible when I know I'm not? It hurts when you know you're smart, but you don't sound as confident as you feel inside. It hurts when people misunderstand you, and you have to repeat yourself 3 times just to get a simple point across. It hurts when you're trying to speak up, but your voice doesn't match the strength of your thoughts. It hurts when you want to lead, but your communication keeps putting you in the background. The truth is, you're not lacking intelligence. You're not lacking ideas. You're not lacking potential. You're lacking a voice that carries weight, the kind of voice that makes people stop scrolling, stop talking, and actually listen. And the worst pain of all, watching opportunities pass you by because someone else spoke with clarity, confidence, and certainty, the qualities you know you should have but were never taught. You're tired of being overlooked. You're tired of explaining yourself. You're tired of feeling like your voice doesn't match your level. You're tired of knowing you could lead if only people would take you seriously the first time. This audiobook is for that exact pain. Because the way you talk shouldn't hide your potential, it should reveal it. The way you communicate shouldn't drain your confidence, it should build it. Your voice shouldn't work against you, it should work for you. And over the next chapters, you're going to learn 5 simple ways to talk like the leader you already know you can be, so you don't walk away from another conversation wishing you said something better. This time, your voice will finally match your value. Now that you understand what has been holding your voice back, let's begin with the first simple way to talk like a leader. Before a leader speaks, something powerful happens long before the sound leaves their mouth. They own their message. Not halfway. Not vaguely. Not while hoping their words somehow land, but clearly, intentionally, and fully. Most people don't do this. They speak first and then they try to figure out what they meant while they're already talking. They speak from reaction, from nerves, from uncertainty, from habit. And because they didn't own their message first, their communication comes out scattered, soft, or confusing, even when their idea was good. Talking like a leader begins with one simple shift. Know what you mean before you say it. The moment you do, everything about your voice changes. Your tone deepens, your pace slows, your words sharpen, your presence strengthens, and people feel it instantly. You don't have to announce your confidence, they hear it. You don't have to force authority, it's built into the clarity behind your words. Owning your message is not about sounding confident, it's about being anchored in your meaning before you speak. This is the foundation of leadership communication. It is the first step. And once you master it, every conversation, every meeting, every interaction becomes easier because your voice is no longer guessing. It's grounded. Owning your message isn't about being loud or dramatic. It's not about using big words, sophisticated language, or complicated sentences. It's not about sounding impressive. It's about delivering the truth of what you mean cleanly. Most people speak to discover what they mean. Leaders think to discover what they mean, and then they speak. When you don't own your message, you talk in a fog, you ramble, you over-explain. You look for the right words while people are already listening. But when you own your message, your delivery becomes simple. You decide internally before you speak externally. You take a breath. You get clear about your point. You choose your intention. You give yourself a few seconds to anchor your thoughts. Then you speak from that clarity. This doesn't take a long time. It takes 3 seconds. That brief pause changes everything. Sends a silent message. I know what I'm about to say. People respect that pause. They lean in. They pay attention. When people don't own their message, they often ask for permission to speak their mind. They soften everything they say. They lead with disclaimers like, "This might sound stupid. I'm not sure, but sorry, but can I just say, or maybe I'm wrong." Every one of those phrases tells the listener, "Don't take my words too seriously." I don't. Leaders don't beg for their message to be accepted. They don't wrap their ideas in layers of insecurity. They speak with humility, not hesitation. They speak with respect, not apology. They speak with clarity, not fear. Owning your message means you give your words the respect they deserve. When your message is unowned, you talk from emotion. You rush when you're nervous. You ramble when you're unsure. You overshare when you want approval. You soften your language when you're afraid of judgment. But when you own your message, you talk from intention, not emotion. You become calm. You become steady. You become present. You become in control of your delivery, not because you're trying to sound confident, but because you are aligned with your meaning. Many people speak like they are folding themselves down to fit into a conversation. Their voice sounds small. Their message sounds diluted. Owning your message means you don't shrink yourself. You don't dilute your truth. You don't soften your point beyond recognition. You don't talk like you're waiting for permission to enter the conversation. Leaders don't speak to avoid discomfort. They speak to create clarity. Owning your message also means you know what outcome you want. Communication is not random noise, it's directional. Before leaders speak, they quietly ask themselves, what is the outcome I want from this conversation? Not manipulation, but direction. Not pressure, but clarity. When you know what outcome you want, your voice becomes focused. When you don't, your voice becomes scattered. People follow direction, not confusion. If owning your message is so powerful, why don't most people do it? There are a few reasons, and none of them are a lack of intelligence. The first is fear of being wrong. Most people protect themselves by sounding unsure. It feels safer to add a maybe, I think, or I'm not totally sure, so that if someone disagrees, your ego can escape unharmed. But leadership involves the risk of being wrong. Clarity requires courage. Another reason people don't own their message is because of habitual weak language. They weaken their voice without noticing. They add unnecessary explanations, softeners, apologies, fillers, and rambling. They speak in long, winding sentences instead of clean, direct lines. These are habits, and habits can be changed. Another problem is that people speak before they think. They rush to fill silence because silence feels uncomfortable. But leaders use silence intentionally. Silence before you speak is not awkward, it's powerful. It shows presence. It shows clarity forming. Weak speakers fear silence. Strong speakers use silence. Another blocker is the desire to please everyone. Many people water down their message because they don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable. But leadership communication is not about pleasing everyone. It's about being understood. Clarity first. Comfort second. Finally, many people don't own their message because they've never trained their thinking. If your mind is cluttered, your message will be cluttered. Owning your message starts with organizing your thoughts even briefly before speaking. So let's make this practical. How do you actually own your message in real conversations? One of the simplest techniques is the 3-second rule. Before you speak, take 3 seconds to clarify what you are about to say. What is my point? Why am I saying this? What outcome do I want? 3 seconds of intention transforms the next 30 seconds of your delivery. Another simple method is the one-sentence anchor. Before you speak, summarize your message in one sentence in your mind. If you want to deliver feedback, anchor your thought with one sentence like, "I need to explain why this isn't working." If you want to share an idea, anchor it with, "My point is the plan needs adjusting." That internal anchor gives your external voice a clear direction. You can also strengthen your communication by replacing weak sentence starters with strong ones. Instead of "I think maybe we should," you can say, "Here's what I see." Instead of "I'm not sure but," you can say, "Here's my perspective." Instead of "just my opinion," you can say, "My recommendation is." These simple swaps immediately shift your energy from uncertainty to clarity. Own your message by dropping defensive energy. You don't need to defend your message before anyone challenges it. Speak your point cleanly. Let it land. Let others respond. Then guide the conversation from clarity, not fear. Leading with defensive tone kills your presence. Leading with grounded tone builds it. Shorten your sentences. Long sentences drain authority. Leaders communicate in clear, digestible lines. "This is the issue. Here's my suggestion. We need to adjust the plan." Short sentences sound decisive. Decisiveness builds trust. Practice pausing on purpose. After you say something important, pause, not awkwardly, not out of fear, intentionally. This gives your message space to settle in the listener's mind. Weak speakers rush, strong speakers pace. Another way to own your message is to close your point cleanly. Many people speak with uncertainty and finish their sentences like a question rather than a statement. They trail off. They fade out. They mumble the ending. Leaders don't do that. They finish their point with certainty. They end with a period. They don't shrink. They don't rush to soften what they said. They close the message with grounded energy. You also strengthen your message by knowing your role in every conversation. Ask yourself quietly, am I guiding? Am I clarifying? Am I correcting? Am I deciding? Am I advising? When you know your role, your message becomes clearer. Your body also influences your communication. Stand or sit with presence. Relax your shoulders. Keep your posture open. A strong body supports a strong voice. You can feel your message differently when your body isn't shrinking. The most important part of owning your message is daily practice. This doesn't happen in big speeches. It's built in small moments. Practice owning your message when ordering food, asking a question, making a request, giving your opinion, or setting a boundary. Your leadership voice is strengthened through repetition. The internal shift you must make is simple. Stop hoping your words land and start trusting your clarity. You are not trying to sound confident. You are becoming someone who speaks from clarity instead of doubt. People may not always agree with you, but they will respect you when your message is clear and grounded. Think about the last conversation where you felt your message didn't land the way you wanted it to. What part of your communication came from doubt? And what would change if you spoke from clarity instead? Your words become stronger the moment you decide to stand behind them. And that is where leadership communication begins. Speaking like a leader doesn't start with confidence. It starts with clarity. People don't follow voices that confuse them. They follow voices that make things simple, understandable, and certain. Clarity is one of the most powerful forms of leadership, and yet it's the skill most people overlook. They assume that if they talk long enough, loud enough, or passionately enough, other people will understand them. But communication doesn't work that way. Clarity isn't about talking more. It's about talking in a way that leaves no room for guessing. Most misunderstandings in life don't come from bad intentions. They come from unclear words. You've experienced it. Times when you tried to express something, but the other person heard something completely different. Times when your instructions seemed obvious to you, but someone still did it wrong. Times when you believed you were being perfectly clear, but the listener walked away confused. None of that happened because the idea was wrong. It happened because the message wasn't structured clearly. Talking like a leader means learning to speak in a way that removes confusion before it even starts. People shouldn't have to decode your meaning. They shouldn't have to guess your intention. They shouldn't have to read your mind. They should hear your words once and immediately understand the point. Clear speaking isn't about being formal or fancy. It's not about sounding perfect or intellectual. It's not about big words or impressive explanations. Clear speaking is about connection. It's about delivering your message in a way the listener can easily absorb. Leaders don't hide behind complicated sentences. They speak in a way that gives people confidence, direction, and certainty. When someone speaks clearly, it feels good to listen. The mind relaxes. The brain doesn't feel overwhelmed. The message lands smoothly. That is what your voice should do for people. It should guide them, not confuse them. It should lighten their mental load, not add to it. But here's the challenge. Most people never learn how to communicate this way. They think faster than they speak. They jump between ideas without noticing. They talk in long streams of thought. They skip important context. They assume the listener knows the backstory. They rush to avoid silence. They speak from emotion instead of intention. And the result is communication that feels tangled and unclear. You've heard this kind of speaking before, maybe in a classroom, at work, or around friends. Someone starts explaining something, and by the middle of their sentence, no one knows what the point is anymore. The idea is fine, but the delivery loses everyone. That's because clarity wasn't guiding the communication. Habit was. Talking like a leader means breaking those habits and replacing them with new ones that create instant understanding. The first habit is simple: slow down. Most people talk too fast, not because they're confident, but because they're nervous. They want to get the words out before they lose their thought. They want to avoid awkward silence. They want to sound sharp and prepared, but speed works against clarity. When you speak too quickly, your sentences run together. The listener starts missing words. Their mind falls behind. And once they fall behind, they stop listening altogether. Slowing down doesn't mean dragging your speech. It simply means giving each sentence room to breathe. When you slow your pace even slightly, people feel more at ease. They trust you more. You sound more grounded. You sound like someone worth listening to. Speaking fast feels like you're chasing approval. Speaking slowly feels like you've already earned it. The next habit is using shorter sentences. Long sentences create confusion. The more words you pack into a single line, the more likely the listener will lose the thread. Leaders speak in clean lines. They break ideas into small, digestible pieces. They don't try to explain everything at once. They don't bury the point under layers of unnecessary detail. They give the listener one idea at a time, clearly and confidently. Instead of giving a long, complicated explanation, they say something simple like, "Here's the issue." Then they pause. "Here's what we need to fix." Another pause. "Here's what we're going to do next." Each sentence has one job. Each sentence stands alone. Each sentence carries weight. That's how leaders speak. Another key part of clear communication is choosing simple words. Many people make a mistake by trying to sound smart. They use big vocabulary, complex phrases, or overly polished language. But leaders don't try to impress. They try to connect. Using complicated language doesn't make your message stronger. It makes it harder to understand. People listen more easily when your message uses words they naturally use in everyday life. Simple language is powerful language. Not because it's basic, but because it's accessible. Your message should feel like a conversation, not a lecture. Another habit of clear speakers is staying on one idea until it lands. Most people communicate by jumping. They start explaining one point, then wander into another thought, then add a story, then remember something else, and suddenly the conversation has turned into a maze. The listener has no idea what the central point is anymore. Leaders don't jump. They deliver one idea fully and clearly before moving to the next. They guide the listener step by step. They make the path easy to follow. Another part of clear speaking is eliminating filler words. These include like, you know, basically, sort of, kind of, and many more. Fillers don't ruin your message, but they weaken it. They pull attention away from the meaning. They make your communication sound uncertain. Leaders use silence instead of fillers. When they need a moment to think, they pause. They let the silence hold the space. Silence is cleaner. Silence is stronger. Silence gives your message more impact. Clear speaking also means giving people the context they need, but only the context that matters. Many people either give too much background or not enough. Too little context leaves the listener confused. Too much context overwhelms them. Leaders give just enough context to support the message and no more. They think, what does this person need to know so that my message makes sense? Then they share only that. Another powerful clarity tool is repetition, but only in a purposeful way. Most people repeat themselves because they're unsure or because they feel like their point didn't land. Leaders repeat strategically. They state their message clearly once, then reinforce it briefly later. Not 5 times, not with long explanations. Just a clean, confident reinforcement. That's enough to make the message unforgettable. Clear speaking also requires awareness. You have to watch the listener as you talk. Pay attention to their facial expressions, their eyes, their posture. Are they following you? Do they look confused? Do they look distracted? Are they nodding or are they drifting? Leaders adjust in real time. If they see confusion, they clarify. If they sense distraction, they bring the conversation back. If they notice someone needs more simplicity, they break the idea down further. Clear communication is a two-way connection, not a monologue. Another habit of leaders is asking simple questions that increase clarity rather than decrease it. When a leader finishes explaining something, they don't say, "Does that make sense?" as filler. They ask it intentionally to check understanding. And if the listener says no, they don't get defensive. They don't blame the listener. They simply explain it again in a better way. Clarity is not about perfection. It's about adaptability. Body language also plays a huge role in clear communication. If your face looks unsure, your message will feel unsure. If your posture looks collapsed, your message will feel weak. If your eyes wander, your message feels disconnected. Leaders communicate with their whole presence. Their posture is steady. Their face is open. Their gestures are controlled. Their attention is focused. The listener feels guided, not overwhelmed. Clear speaking isn't just something you practice in big moments. Something you build every day in small conversations. You practice clarity when giving instructions. You practice clarity when making a request. You practice clarity when expressing an opinion. You practice clarity when setting boundaries. The more you practice, the more your brain learns to organize your thoughts before you speak. If you want to talk like a leader, begin with this simple promise to yourself. From today forward, I will speak clearly. That means you will slow down. You will simplify. You will focus on one idea at a time. You will remove the fluff. You will let silence replace fillers. You will guide your listener, not overwhelm them. You will speak to be understood, not applauded. Think back to a moment where someone else confused you. Notice how uncomfortable confusion feels. Notice how quickly you lost interest. Notice how hard you had to work to understand. Now imagine giving that feeling to others. That's what unclear speaking does. It drains people. It pushes them away. Clarity does the opposite. It draws them closer. It makes communication easier. It makes connections smoother. It makes leadership natural. Take a moment to reflect. Where in your life do you need to be clearer? Maybe it's at work when giving instructions. Maybe it's in a relationship when expressing needs. Maybe it's in conversations where you usually stay vague. Maybe it's when you're nervous and rush through your words. Wherever it is, clarity is your solution. Clear speaking isn't a skill for special people. It's a skill anyone can build with practice. And once you have it, people will listen differently. They will respond differently. They will trust you more. They will follow your message with confidence, because clear speaking shows clear thinking, and clear thinking is the heart of leadership. Narrator, Chapter 3. Before anyone trusts your leadership, they listen to your voice, not your words, your voice. The tone you use, the steadiness behind it, the rhythm, the energy, the presence. People hear your emotional state even when you're trying to hide it. They hear hesitation. They hear frustration. They hear fear. They hear insecurity. And the truth is simple. If your voice is shaky, scattered, rushed, or unstable, people will hesitate to follow you no matter how good your ideas are. Control your voice before you try to lead. That's not a suggestion. It's a requirement. Because your voice is more than sound, it's your emotional signature. It reveals your confidence, your discipline, your self-control, and your inner world. A trained voice tells people, "You can trust me, I'm steady, I'm grounded, I'm not driven by impulse." An untrained voice says, "I'm unsure, I might break under pressure, I'm speaking but I don't fully believe myself." Most people don't pay attention to their own voice. They don't realize how they sound when they're nervous, when they're stressed, when they're excited, or when they're unsure. They've never listened to a recording of their tone. They've never practiced their delivery. They don't know if they speak too fast, too soft, too harsh, or too flat. Their voice just happens. And because their voice is untrained, their leadership presence becomes accidental. Talking like a leader means taking responsibility for the energy behind your voice. It means mastering your tone so that your message carries strength without needing volume. Loud people want attention. Grounded leaders earn attention. Loud people want to be noticed. Grounded leaders want to be understood. The difference is enormous. People trust voices that feel calm, steady, and consistent. They trust voices that sound the same whether things are peaceful or chaotic. They trust voices that don't spike into panic or drop into uncertainty. They trust voices that hold space, not voices that collapse under pressure. When your voice is steady, people feel safe around you. They feel guided, not shaken. Think about it. If someone's voice is cracking with anxiety, do you feel confident following them? If someone's tone jumps all over the place, do you feel stable around them? If someone rushes every sentence, do you feel like they're in control? Probably not. Because communication is not only what you say, it's the emotional state you transfer through your tone. Controlling your voice begins with awareness. You must actually listen to how you sound. Record yourself. Pay attention to your patterns. Do you rush? Do you hesitate? Do you sound unsure? Do you use a defensive tone? Do you let frustration leak into your words? Leaders don't let emotions grab the steering wheel. They speak with intention, not reaction. Control begins with breathing. If your breathing is shallow, your voice becomes shaky and rushed. If your breathing is deep and slow, your voice becomes warm, steady, and powerful. Breath is the foundation of vocal control. Before an important conversation, take a slow breath in, hold it for a moment, then release it. Feel your body settle. Feel your mind slow down. You cannot control your voice if you cannot control your breath. Another part of vocal control is pacing. Weak speakers rush because they're nervous. Strong speakers pause because they're intentional. A pause is not a sign of uncertainty, it's a sign of command. When you pause, you take control of the room. You give your message weight. You give the listener time to absorb. You show them that you're not rushing to prove anything. Silence, when used properly, is a leadership tool. You also need to master your emotional triggers. When someone pushes your buttons, when they interrupt, challenge you, criticize you, misinterpret you, your instinct may be to react emotionally. Your tone may tighten. Your volume may rise. Your pace may speed up. But that is when leadership communication matters most. When things get tense, your voice must become even more controlled. Calm under pressure is one of the strongest signals of leadership. If your tone remains steady when others get heated, people start to trust you without you having to ask for that trust. You must also remove the edge from your voice. Many people unknowingly speak with irritation, defensiveness, or passive aggression. Even if your words are fine, your tone can ruin your message. You cannot lead if your voice sounds like you're battling the room. A leader's voice carries clarity, not conflict. It carries direction, not aggression. It carries confidence, not ego. Another important part of controlling your voice is matching the tone to the message. If you're delivering good news, your voice should sound warm and open. If you're giving instructions, your tone should be calm and firm. If you're correcting a mistake, your tone should be direct but not emotional. If you're under pressure, your tone should slow and stabilize. People respond to tone far more than they respond to vocabulary. You also need to be fully present when you speak. Presence is felt through your voice. If your mind is scattered, your voice will sound scattered. If you're distracted, your voice loses power. Before speaking, center yourself. Focus on the message. Speak from your body, not your head. Speak from intention, not stress. Speak like what you're saying matters because it does. Leadership doesn't show up in grand speeches. It shows up in everyday conversations. When you ask someone to do something, when you give feedback, when someone makes a mistake, when tension rises. When someone challenges your decision, those small moments are where your tone determines how people see you. Practice speaking calmly in difficult conversations. Practice holding your voice steady when someone frustrates you. Practice lowering your tone instead of raising your volume. Practice slowing your pace instead of rushing when nervous. Practice pausing when you feel emotional. These habits will make your voice feel unshakable. A controlled voice doesn't mean a cold voice. It means a grounded one. It means your emotions don't spill into your communication. It means you can speak clearly even when you feel pressure. It means you don't need to prove anything with volume or intensity. Your steadiness proves everything for you. People follow voices they can predict, voices that stay steady in chaos, voices that don't break under pressure, voices that communicate leadership without forcing it. Your voice becomes a signal. You're safe. I'm in control. We're moving forward. And people will trust you naturally. Your voice can calm a room. Your voice can elevate confidence. Your voice can reduce tension. Your voice can guide decisions, but only if you train it. No one is born with perfect vocal control. It is a skill, a trainable, repeatable, masterable skill. Start with awareness. Listen to yourself, adjust your tone, breathe deeper, slow your pace, choose intention over reaction. Speak like a leader even when no one is watching, because that is how the habit forms. There will be days when you don't feel strong, days when you're tired, days when your emotions are loud. On those days, your training carries you. That's why you practice. Your voice is not just sound, it's your presence, it's your authority, it's your emotional stability made audible. Control your voice and you control the atmosphere around you. Control your voice and you control the direction of the moment. Control your voice and people begin to follow you naturally. Leadership starts with a steady voice. Before you ask others to listen, make sure your voice is ready to lead. Talking like a leader is not about sounding smart. It's not about using fancy language or long explanations. It's about one thing, saying words that actually move people to act. A leader's voice doesn't just fill the air. It shifts something inside the listener. It creates motion. It sparks decisions. It wakes people up. Most voices are forgettable because they don't push anyone forward. They offer thoughts, ideas, commentary, opinions, but nothing that creates movement. A leader's voice is different. When you hear it, you feel something inside you shift. You think differently. You see differently. You want to take action. That's the power of speaking in a way that moves people. Every day, people hear thousands of words. Conversations, texts, emails, notifications, noise. Almost none of it touches them. Almost none of it changes anything. But once in a while, someone says a sentence that stops everything. One sentence that cuts through the noise. One sentence that hits the heart instead of the ears. One sentence that makes someone sit up straighter and rethink their direction. Those are the sentences leaders speak. They're simple, direct, and purposeful. They're not emotional hype. They're not motivational fluff. They are clear, grounded, real, and that's why they move people. To speak in a way that moves people, you must understand something most people never learn. Movement starts with intention. Before you say anything meaningful, you must know why you're saying it. Not for approval, not for attention, not to sound important, but to create a shift. People can feel your intention before they understand your words. If you speak for yourself, they tune out. If you speak for impact, they lean in. Real influence begins with purpose. Many people talk without intention. They speak because they're emotional, because they're frustrated, because they feel like talking, because silence makes them uncomfortable. But leaders don't speak to release emotion. They speak to create direction. They don't talk to impress. They talk to empower. They don't talk to hear their own voice. They talk to help others step into something better. If you want your words to move people, the first step is to align your intention with the change you want to create. The second key to moving people is speaking to their truth, not their comfort. Most people are surrounded by soft talk, people telling them to take it easy, to wait, to be patient, to avoid discomfort, to do things when the timing feels right. That kind of talk keeps people stuck. Leaders speak differently. They speak to the parts of people that are tired of waiting, the parts that want to grow, the parts that crave clarity, not the parts that want comfort. When you speak truth, people feel it. Truth cuts through excuses. Truth strips away denial. Truth wakes people up from the stories they've been telling themselves. A leader says what others avoid, not with cruelty but with clarity, not with harshness but with honesty. When you say something real, something someone has been needing to hear but hasn't said out loud, it hits them. And that impact becomes the beginning of movement. You also move people by speaking directly to their pain. People act when something inside them is stirred, challenged, or confronted. If your words don't touch the part of them that's struggling, they won't move. If you want to influence someone's direction, you must understand what holds them back. Their doubt, their fear, their excuses, their delay, their frustration, their habits. Speak to that. Speak to the part of them that knows they're capable of more but keeps settling for less. Speak to the gap between who they are and who they could become. That's how you move someone without ever raising your voice. Movement also comes from simplicity. People don't take action when they hear long speeches. They move when they hear clear direction. One sentence can be more powerful than 10 paragraphs. Start today. Fix it now. Stop waiting. You already know what to do. This is your moment. These simple lines carry more weight than a long explanation. Clarity creates action. Complexity kills it. A leader never crowds their message. They don't bury their point under layers of detail. They don't decorate it to sound impressive. They say it clean, say it once, and let the silence after it do the rest. The silence is where the impact settles. The silence is where the listener internalizes the message. The silence is where the shift happens. Weak speakers fill the silence. Strong speakers trust the silence. Urgency is another tool that moves people. Most people live in delay. They wait for motivation. They wait for the right timing. They wait for the perfect alignment. Leaders snap them out of waiting by speaking with urgency, not panic but purpose. Urgency wakes people up. Urgency shows them what's at stake. Urgency makes them feel the cost of staying where they are. When someone senses urgency in your tone, they realize that their next step isn't optional, it's necessary. You create urgency by pointing out the truth. Nothing changes until you act. Time won't slow down for you. Opportunities don't repeat forever. Comfort is costly. Delay has a price. Leaders don't scare people, they awaken them. They remind them that the longer they stay still, the longer they stay stuck. And when someone feels that truth, movement begins. But here's the part most people miss. Your words won't move people if you don't mean them. Tone carries belief. If you speak from theory instead of experience, people will feel the emptiness in your words. If you tell people to be disciplined when you're not disciplined yourself, your voice loses weight. If you give advice you don't follow, your tone will betray you. Movement requires authenticity. When your life matches your message, your words gain their own gravity. People listen longer, they trust faster, they absorb deeper. Because they feel that your message isn't entertainment, it's lived truth. And lived truth moves people like nothing else. Another part of speaking in a way that moves people is confronting them without attacking them. Leaders don't shame people. Shame shuts people down. Leaders call people higher. They say, you're capable of more than this. They say, you've been hiding. They say, you know what you need to do. They say, stop waiting. These words don't tear someone down, they pull them forward. Sometimes the most powerful movement comes from one sentence that holds someone accountable, not emotional, not dramatic, just honest. You also move people by making the next step simple. People don't act on huge ideas, they act on clear instructions. Start with 5 minutes. Make the call today. Remove the distraction. Do one thing differently. When the next step is simple, people feel capable. When they feel capable, they move. Movement is not created through pressure. It's created through clarity, truth, urgency, simplicity, and intention. But here is something important: you must say less, not more. Most people try to move others by talking endlessly. They overload. They repeat. They over-explain. They think that if they say the same thing 10 times, the listener will take action. But the opposite is true. The more you talk, the weaker the message becomes. Movement requires precision, not volume. The sentence that moves someone is usually short. One moment of clarity can change a direction. Think about the sentences that changed your life. They were not long speeches. They were simple truths delivered with weight. To move people, speak from your convictions. Speak like you believe your words. Speak with calm pressure. Speak to their potential, not their excuses. Speak with truth, not fear. Speak with simplicity, not decoration. Speak like your message matters, because it does. People aren't waiting for motivation. They're waiting for permission. Permission to stop hiding. Permission to demand more from themselves. Permission to let go of comfort. Permission to finally act. Your voice can give them that permission, not by yelling, not by preaching, but by speaking truth with clarity and strength. Take a moment to reflect. Think of a time when someone said something that moved you. What made it powerful? The message, the tone, the honesty, the simplicity, the urgency. Realize this: you can create that same effect for others. You can be the voice that wakes someone up. You can be the voice that helps someone take the step they've been avoiding. You can be the voice that moves someone closer to who they want to become. Talking like a leader is not about noise. It's about impact. Speak to move people. Speak to shift them. Speak to guide them. Speak from a place inside you that has already moved. Because what moves you is what will move others. Talking like a leader isn't something you turn on once in a while. It's not a trick you use only in big moments. It's not a switch you flip for interviews, presentations, or serious conversations. Talking like a leader is a daily habit, a skill you train, a muscle you build, a standard you live by. Most people want to sound strong when it matters, but they don't practice when it doesn't. They want their voice to carry confidence in big rooms, but they don't pay attention to how they talk in small ones. They want to be calm and clear under pressure, but they never train themselves in ordinary situations. Then when it's time to perform, their voice cracks under the weight of the moment. Leadership doesn't appear in big moments. It reveals itself there. It's built quietly in the background through repetition, through practice, through small daily choices. Your voice works the same way. If you want your voice to sound like leadership when it counts, you have to train it when no one's watching. This is the fifth and final way to talk like a leader. Train your voice daily until leading with it becomes natural. Your voice right now is a reflection of your habits. The words you reach for without thinking, the tone you use when you're stressed, the pace you slip into when you're excited or nervous, the way you talk to yourself in your own mind. None of that is random. It's all the result of repetition. The good news is that means you can change it with new repetition. You don't need a stage to build a leadership voice. You don't need a microphone. You don't need a crowd. You need awareness and consistency. Every conversation is a training session. Every message is a repetition. Every moment you open your mouth is an opportunity to sharpen your leadership. Start by paying attention. Notice how you speak in everyday situations. Notice your tone when you're tired. Notice your words when you're annoyed. Notice your pace when you're excited. Notice how you respond when someone disagrees. Don't judge yourself, just notice. Awareness is the first step to change. From there, choose one habit at a time to improve. Not 10, not all of them, just one. Maybe you decide, today I will slow down when I speak. So all day you catch yourself whenever you rush your words. You take a breath, you reset, you speak with more control. That's training. Maybe another day you focus on clarity. Today I'll keep my sentences short and simple. You avoid rambling. You stop halfway through long explanations and tighten them. That's training. Another day you work on strength. Today I will cut weak phrases like I think maybe or I guess and use stronger ones instead. So you replace them with here, what I see, here, what I suggest. Let's do this. That's training. When you practice these habits in everyday conversations, you are building a voice that will be ready in big moments without you having to force it. Training your voice also means training your mind. The way you talk to yourself when no one hears you affects the way you talk to others when everyone hears you. If your internal voice is full of doubt and disrespect, I'm not good enough. I always mess this up. No one listens to me. Then your external voice will reflect that insecurity. You can't talk like a leader to others while talking like an enemy to yourself. You must start speaking to yourself with strength. Not fake positivity, but solid self-respect. Tell yourself, I can learn this. I can improve how I speak. My voice matters. I'm building something better. The stronger your internal language becomes, the more natural, strong external language will feel. Inner voice first, outer voice next. Another part of training is practicing under small amounts of pressure. You don't need a huge audience to feel pressure. For some people, speaking up in a meeting is pressure. For others, having a difficult conversation is pressure. For others, it's saying no when they usually say yes. These are practice arenas. Don't avoid them, use them. When you feel your heart beat a little faster, when you feel your chest tighten before speaking, that's not a sign to run. That's a sign that your training is now live. This is the moment where you apply everything you've been learning. Breathe. Slow your pace. Own your message. Speak clearly. Use strong words. Hold your tone steady. Then reflect afterward and ask, how did I do? What can I adjust next time? Repetition plus reflection equals growth. If you only repeat without reflection, you might strengthen bad habits. If you only reflect without repetition, nothing changes. You need both. Don't underestimate small, private practice. Read out loud, record yourself, talk through your ideas alone. Listen to your tone, notice your habits. Adjust. This might feel strange at first, but it's no different from an athlete training when the stadium is empty. They don't only perform in front of crowds, they prepare when no one is cheering. That's what makes them ready when the lights turn on. Your voice deserves the same treatment. You may not see it yet, but your voice is one of your most powerful tools in life. It affects your relationships, your career, your opportunities, your influence, and your impact. Training it isn't optional if you want to lead. It's essential. Training your voice daily is also about consistency, not perfection. Some days you'll speak with incredible clarity and strength. Other days you'll slip, rush, mumble, or fall into old patterns. That's normal. The goal isn't to never make mistakes. The goal is to improve your average, to make your worst days better than your old normal, to make your best days more frequent, to move your baseline forward. Over time, small improvements stack up. People start responding to you differently without you even realizing exactly when it changed. You notice fewer misunderstandings. You notice more respect. You notice people listening longer when you talk. You notice you don't feel as anxious speaking up. You notice your voice doesn't shake as much under pressure. That's the compound effect of daily training. There's also something powerful that happens when you take your voice seriously. Your identity begins to shift. You no longer see yourself as someone who just talks. You see yourself as someone who leads when they talk. You carry yourself differently. You enter rooms differently. You choose your words with more intention. You start to feel responsible for the effect your voice has on others. That responsibility is the heart of leadership communication. You recognize that your words can either build or break, clarify or confuse, move people forward or hold them back. And because you see that, you treat your voice like a tool, not a toy. As this audiobook comes to an end, remember this. None of these 5 ways are magic. They're not tricks. They're not hacks. They are simple, repeatable habits. Own your message before you speak. Speak clearly so people don't have to guess what you mean. Control your voice so your tone reflects stability and strength. Say things that move people to act instead of just filling space. And train your voice daily until all of this becomes who you are, not something you're trying to do, but something you naturally do. You don't have to be perfect to talk like a leader. You just have to be intentional. Every sentence is a chance to practice. Every conversation is a chance to lead. Every day is a chance to build a stronger voice. There will always be people who talk louder than you, people who talk more than you, people who are more dramatic, more emotional, more expressive. That doesn't matter. Leadership isn't about volume. It's about clarity, strength, presence, and consistency. A calm, steady, well-trained voice will always outlast loud noise. So as you go forward, don't wait for a big moment to start using these skills. Start today. Start in your next conversation. Start in a small way. Speak a little clearer. Own your message a little more. Cut one weak phrase. Slow down one sentence. Stand a little taller. Breathe a little deeper before you speak. And do that again tomorrow. And the next day, and the next. One day you'll look back and realize your voice isn't something you're trying to fix anymore. It became an extension of the leader you've been building inside. People will say, "There's something about the way you talk. I listen when you speak." And you'll know it wasn't an accident. It was training. It was intention. It was the daily decision to talk like the person you were becoming. Your voice is ready to grow. Your leadership is ready to grow. Now it's your turn to practice, to apply, and to live these 5 simple ways until they become natural. Because once your voice leads, your life follows. Thank you for spending your time with this audiobook. If it brought you clarity, strength, or even one idea that helps you communicate like a leader, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Your support allows us to create more full-length audiobooks, more mindset guides, and more content designed to help you grow into your highest potential. We appreciate every single one of you listening. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.